Lucia didn't notice the boy until he was already beside her table, breathless from running through the tiled hallway of Retiro station. He dropped a folded receipt next to her cold empanada and vanished into the press of commuters. On the back, in hurried block letters, Uspallata, Ruta 7, El Condor, tonight. Below that, a number she recognized, the old prepaid SIM her brother, Martin, had used before he disappeared 2 months ago. The clatter of trains swelled and collapsed like a tide. Lucia looked up, half expecting to catch the courier's face. She saw only people, office workers checking the subbed map, soldiers in green uniforms laughing, a shoeshine man twisting a rag with theatrical snaps. She tried the number. Dead. Just static and the chirp of a disconnected line. Her coffee was cold. The station smelled of metal, wet wool, and fried dough. A loudspeaker announced a delay on the San Martin line. Somewhere outside, sirens rose and faded. Buenos Aires could swallow a person whole without even swallowing. She had told herself she'd stopped looking. The police report, nonviolent disappearance, adult male, debt risk, was filed and filed away. The officer with bored eyes suggested that Martin had run with a woman to Brazil. Everyone has a story about someone who did. Lucia had shaken her head until the tendons in her neck hurt. Martin couldn't keep a secret if it had a ribbon on it, unless someone else tied the ribbon. She left coins under the saucer, tucked the receipt into her wallet, and walked out into Florida Street's wash of vendors and counterfeit perfume. The city was a rainstorm of neon and patience. She turned past the bank where she worked as a forensic accountant, the glass already reflecting the first slant of afternoon light. 5 years of catching small lies inside big ones, following the line of a peso as it changed names. That wasn't why she'd kept checking the archived transport logs for a cargo. El Condor moved wine, lithium components, refrigerated beef. They also moved unsigned shipments that hopped from truck to train to border like sparrows. 2 nights before Martin vanished, he had called from a windy place, saying, "It's not what you think. Don't call me. If anyone asks, tell them you haven't seen me." The line had shaken. She had heard trucks downshifting and what might have been laughter or wind. At home in Chacarita, Lucia packed quickly. Jeans, sweater, a warm jacket, 2 burner phones, and her father's army knife she kept for opening boxes and the past. She texted her neighbor to feed the plant she always forgot and hired an overnight bus to Mendoza. Uspallata lay another hour beyond, a mountain pocket in the Andes where the road climbed toward Chile, where trucks slept in long lines and snow gates closed the pass without apology. Before boarding at Retiro, she paused under the departure board. A man in a suit stood too near, face in his phone, but his eyes kept straying sideways. Lucia went to the kiosk, bought a packet of mints, then circled behind him casually. His lock screen was a photo of a German shepherd. Nothing else. The bus hissed, and the driver checked tickets with bored holes in his eyelids. She slipped into seat 17, window, clutching the receipt like a talisman. As the city lights thinned into billboard black, she imagined Martin's hands, the chewed thumbnail, the old scar where he'd fallen from their grandmother's peach tree. She pressed the knife against her thigh and planned a search without a plan for the morning. Dawn came in wine colors across Mendoza's vineyards. The bus wheezed into the terminal, and Lucia stepped onto concrete that still held the night's cold. She bought a media luna and watched the sky pale behind distant mountains like paper unfolding. A driver hawked rides to Uspallata for cash. She bargained without smiling and climbed into a battered Peugeot with seats that smelled of old mate. They followed Ruta 7 west, the city giving way to poplars and irrigation canals. Then the road began to climb. Potrerillo's lake flashed blue beneath concrete slopes. Trucks labored uphill like animals. The driver, a talkative uncle type, asked once. "Vacation," she said. "Trabajo." He nodded, understanding that meant no more questions. Uspallata sat in a bowl of light and wind. Aconcagua brooded on the horizon, clouds snagging on its ridges. The town had one main street, restaurants and hostels, a gendarmeria post, and a yard with the red falcon logo of El Condor painted on corrugated steel. Lucia tipped the driver and walked to a cafe across from the yard, ordered coffee, and opened her laptop. Her banking credentials were a skeleton key. She didn't steal, she looked. The flows were public, then private. El Condor's declared shipments matched their invoices a little too perfectly, like answers copied clean. The unsigned cargoes vanished until she found a missing decimal and a rounding habit. One route repeated: Buenos Aires to Uspallata, Uspallata to San Martín de los Andes, then private storage. Lithium supply chains had blee. A horn blared outside. She glanced up and saw the German shepherd from the man's lock screen. Only this one breathed, tongue lolling. It jumped into the back of a grey Hilux that idled along the fence as two men in blue jackets checked a manifest. One wore sunglasses despite the early hour. He lifted his head once and looked past the café glass. She looked at the window's reflection. Town, mountains, her steady hand lifting the cup. When she lowered it, the hill. By afternoon she had a name: El Condorcet Regional. The regional manager, Emilio Paz, had signed for more fuel reimbursements than cents. Martín had once worked as a night dispatcher at the Buenos Aires yard, a job he hated but kept. A name crawled out of a memory. Paz says he trusts me. He doesn't know me. Martín had laughed when he'd said that. His laugh had never been brave. Lucia waited until the yard lights burned sodium orange. She walked over with her father's jacket zipped to the chin. The guard wore a knit cap and bored suspicion. "I'm here for Paz," she said, showing a card that looked official. The guard said, "He's not in today." She tried again. "I'll leave documents." He pointed to a metal box near the fence. As she slid a blank envelope through, a diesel engine coughed behind the warehouse. A truck eased into a staging area, covered by a soft tarp that billowed gently. Stenciled on the canvas was a black falcon. The driver stared straight ahead. A second vehicle, the grey Hilux, tucked in behind, the shepherd sitting statue still. On instinct, Lucia stepped back into shadow and lifted her phone. She took 3 photos and typed a message to herself. "Martín, if you're in there, blink. Uspallata, 1810. Then she deleted the text and kept the photos. The convoy turned toward the pass and disappeared into blue air and the first thin flurries of snow. The air smelled of fuel and cold metal, and faint, distant wood smoke. Snow turned from suggestion to fact as the road climbed, flakes sharp in the air. Lucia paid a kid in a down jacket to rent her a dented hatchback for the afternoon, cash only, and joined the line toward the pass. The radio warned the pass might close. Trucks idled, their brake lights glowing in the white. She kept 2 vehicles back from the grey Hilux. At a checkpoint near Polvoridas, she lowered the window for a gendarme. "Solo, yo," she said. He peered past her and raised his hand. The Hilux drifted forward. The black Falcon truck beyond it climbed with the slow certainty of a secret. At Puente del Inca, the stone bridge shone the color of turmeric in the weak sun. Tourists took photos and hurried back. Lucia pulled over and pretended to fix her wiper. In the mirror, the Hilux driver watched nothing with professional care. She felt watched. She had felt watched since Retiro, as if the city had shoved her and the mountains were finishing the job. Near the Cristo Redentor monument, the wind arrived. It came in punches, rattling doors. The convoy's speed fell to a crawl. A digital sign flashed. Paso Cerrado, EN 60 minutes. The idea of being trapped made her mouth go dry. She dug a mint from the packet and bit down hard. The tunnel entrance squatted ahead like a mouth that could clamp shut. The truck eased into a staging area. The Hilux parked perpendicular, blocking the view. Two men in blue jackets climbed down. One had the same shoulders as the man with sunglasses from the yard. The other paced the trailer and touched the tarp with a handler's care. She left the hatchback and walked into the wind, taking a clipboard she'd prepared, a blank form under a logo she'd stolen off a public tender. She smelled diesel, snow, and antifreeze. "Documentos," she said, letting the clipboard catch the light. Sunglasses stared at her. The other man laughed, brief and wrong. "Your hair," he said. "You should tie it. The wind steals." "I'm just here to confirm seals," she said. "Paz asked me to audit." At the name they stopped. He opened the trailer flap. Inside was darkness and a blue glow. Lucia climbed the bumper and looked. Stacked were used battery modules, labels half scraped away. Between them sat sealed coolers with hazard stickers and hospital barcodes. She said, "I need the manifest. Isotopes? Organs? Experimental drugs? Or just stolen supplies recirculated until the money rinsed clean?" Martine wouldn't have understood half of it. "This is not your audit," Sunglasses said. "Close it." A sound cut through, the yip of a horn, frantic. The shepherd stood rigid, nose high. Through the snow, a vehicle slid into view, gendarmerie. Lucia stepped back and lost her footing on the bumper. She hit the packed snow hard. "Go," Sunglasses told the driver. "Now." The truck's engine deepened once. The Hilux swung wide, throwing slush. The shepherd barked. The gendarmes didn't aim weapons. They waved the convoy forward, urgent, as if speed served everyone. As it passed the patrol, Lucia saw why. A second patrol sat behind, lights off, watching. Not an interception, an escort. She lay in the lee of the trailer until the last axles passed. Then she crawled to the hatchback and breathed into her gloves once. Somewhere in the wind, a familiar laugh rose and died. When it came again, she realized it wasn't wind. Her phone had started to ring with Martine's disconnected number. She steadied her breath. She answered on the third ring, crouched in the hatchback. Wind rode the line and Martine's voice was rushed, joking at the edges to hide worry. "Lou, don't swear, I only have a minute," he said. "If you're at the pass, leave. Drive back to Uspallata, take 149 south, meet me near El Sosnido. I'll send a pin." "You're alive," she said, the words like a bruise. "You're alive, and you left me with paperwork and a plant. Alive for now. Listen. Paz is moving hospital stock and used lithium modules to a warehouse by San Martin de los Andes. They invoice it back to hospitals as maintenance, then sell across the border. He has friends in green. You saw that." The line hissed. "I need it out, and the only person I trust to make noise is you. You sent the boy at Retiro. I sent 3. Only one reached you." He breathed, then said, "I know you're angry. Use that later. Right now leave. They'll sweep the town first." The call died. A pin came through. A road south, a cold reservoir, nothing else. Lucia started the hatchback and did as told, because her anger was a live wire, and misused anger kills. Snow chased her down the switchbacks. She reached Uspallata on slick tires, bought fuel with a trembling card, and barreled south on 149 through emptiness and skeletal fences. Mountains marched on her right. Night closed. Trucks vanished. Stars came in a spill between torn clouds. El Sosnido was a gas station with a tired dog and a woman knitting. The pin led beyond it, to a dirt track and a shadowed reservoir where wind wrote invisible scripts. A single light blinked twice. She drove toward it and cut the engine. Martine walked out of the dark wearing a fluorescent vest and a beard he hadn't earned. He looked older. He hugged her with one arm. "You brought them," he whispered. For a second she thought he meant police. Headlights snapped on. The grey Hilux idled nearby. Behind it, a white pickup with a municipal seal. Two men stepped out, sunglasses and a third in a wool coat. "Paz." "Family reunion," Paz said mildly. "Martine, you're getting sentimental." Lucia stood squared, the knife heavy in her pocket. "He called me," she said. "You steal pills and sell them back." Paz smiled. "We recycle. The province wastes." He nodded toward the reservoir. "There is only water and paperwork." Sunglasses moved. Martine moved faster. The vest came open. Not a gun, a phone, camera light bright. He faced Paz. "Smile." "Delete," Paz said. "No," Martine said. "I sent it already. You taught me schedules." The white pickup's radio crackled. The dog barked once. For a breath everything was possible. The municipal driver lifted both hands and stepped away. A second car approached. Doors opened and two people stepped into the light. Not police. Journalists, scarves up, eyes hungry. Lucia understood the receipt, the photos, the public pin. She had been bait and amplifier. Rage rose with relief. Paz watched her calculation turn. "We're done." They reversed, clean and professional, and disappeared into the night. The storm found them. Snow came slantwise. Martine shook, laughed close to tears. "I'm sorry," he said. "I wanted you out, but I needed you loud." Lucia looked at the reservoir. "Then be louder than me," she said. Journalists lifted microphones. Camera eyes glowed. Somewhere in the darkness, a siren started, or maybe only wind gathering its breath for the range beyond. They would speak. Together.